Can you guys see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thanks everyone for joining us this morning or this afternoon, wherever you are. We're very excited to introduce the data discovery on IBM's TM1. We've got some exciting things to show you today, I think, and it's quite exciting for us to show you the features that we've placed into our upbringing or our applications now. Scott Southward, Director of Products and Services for Datawatch Asia Pacific. Today will be James Wakefield. He's the manager and area lead from Tridant, which is one of our partners here in Asia Pacific, along with Baldwin, who's the Director of Engineering for Datawatch based in the Boston area outside of the US, in the US. Thomas is kind of a lead guy here. I'm quite excited that he's joining this call because he knows very well what this is all about. He was a key player from the IBM side, even now into Datawatch, so he can explain his position a little bit later. So what we'll cover today is just a little bit about Datawatch's history. I'm going to get into the visual data discovery for TM1, and we're going to get to the demonstration a little bit later and show you some real live examples of how you can use within TM1. We'll cover all with question and answer a little bit later. Datawatch has been around for a long time. I think we were established somewhere around 1986. We went public in 1992. We're NASDAQ, so if you want to take a look at us, you can see us out on the stock exchange. We're a pioneer in real-time data discovery and the transformation of any data. So we can take any data from any data source and transform it and visually discover it with our application. We have global operations all across we have this just outside of Boston. That's office in the U.S. We have offices in Europe, Australia, Singapore, Philippines. Our office in Asia Pacific is here in Singapore, and that's based. We have extensive global coverage. We're in just about all of the Fortune 100 companies and in almost all of the largest financial institutions across the world. We're enrolled and embedded in many other products, AP, IBM, TIBCO, Thomson Reuters. You can see our product in just about everywhere. Institutions are concerned, we're almost in every single one, especially here in Asia Pacific. Any company that you can think of, we're already been in there for many years. Citibank, HSBC, we have a very deep embed inside all of these areas. In the industry, we're very strong in the healthcare industry, and we have a very good foothold in just about any government agency that you can possibly think of. And in any other industry, whether it's manufacturing, we have a very good foothold in just about every other area. Home here in Asia Pacific, as you can see on the logos here, you might recognize many of these. Across Asia, we're in just about every industry that you can possibly think of. Banking, Audi. We did a big project in Audi in Japan. Boston Scientific, Marina Bay Sands. We're across the entire area across Asia Pacific. So visual data discovery mean? Basically, the ease for the users to customize and share information across the organization. The exploration of any type of data, wherever it exists, whether it's in frame type of information or whether it's in static documents, the ability to capture data in any form and in any format. Usually discover that information through our visual data discovery front end. We could quickly identify anomalies in the data that you're looking at. So we're looking for the outliers, and we're looking for data you need to know, things that you're looking for within your data, things to know about your data, but you haven't found yet. So it's the information that you're trying to find but can't. We do through a very unique way through our visual data discovery. We allow for enriched our R and Python connectivity. For Datawatch and IBM, we have many connecting points. We've had a long history with IBM actually, and we're able to connect through different areas. It's pretty exciting for us in Datawatch because we have activity through WebSphere, the WebSphere InfoSphere streams, so we connect into real time and look at time streaming data. Also connectivity through relational databases, and recently through Cloudant and NoSQL. We also a good connecting point with the content manager. So management through IBM CMOD, we can now connect to all of the documents that are stored in IBM CMOD. Focus on IBM TM1. So these connecting points through IBM, we have the ability to visually discover any kind of data, kind of format it's in any variety, whether it's structured, semi-structured, or unstructured data, in real velocity, to deliver real-time exploration analytics. It's time to introduce Tridant. We'll go through the visual data discovery for TM1.
Good. Thanks. Can you hear me okay?
I can, yes, fine.
Okay, good. Excellent. Thank you. Yeah, so just a few slides here for me, and then we get to see the live demo from James, which I think is going to be great. Very quick introduction about myself. So I was left IBM last year. I've been running the TM1 development team, and then in the development team for something on the order of 15 years. Really excited about the opportunity that Datawatch, and discovery offered. Not the Datawatch kind of get through this. I'd say I was really pleased to help us create our visualization data discovery for TM1 initiative. I think the combination of all that modeled, how the TM1, I won't go on and on about TM1, though I love going there. All the TM1 combined with our discovery analytics is a really unique proposition in the market and extremely powerful. So if you were to kind of walk through the animations of this slide, Scott,
Yep.
Just a couple of them, I think. So rather than just taking my word for it, one more. You can go ahead. Thanks, right there. You're looking out at the BI, business intelligence world, analytics world, is saying that data discovery, is the wave of the future. If it's not already, the present, it's absolutely coming. A number of you have seen this. Your BI, kind of IT-driven BI, is just a way to kind of much more fast-paced the analytics and kind of modeling on the fly capability. We're certainly seeing that, and this is a strong suit for Watch. That Gartner is predicting that the applications that are leveraging real streaming data, real-time data, to drive faster analytics and faster decisions are going to be, growing extremely quickly. As you can see here, by 2017. Are going to be doing streaming analytics. The question of these two trends, data discovery and the use of streaming data, puts us in a really fantastic place just because of our ability to do visualizations and our history for the last 7 or 8 years doing streaming data. And then on top of that, sort of special to this presentation, not mentioned by Gartner, is our ability to talk to modeled data, which in particular once. If you could go to the next slide, Scott, that would be great. So let's just walk through the animations here. A little more. Perfect. Okay, thanks. So, BI versus Datawatch's data discovery. Traditional BI, is the IBM Cognos, SAP MicroStrategy, things like that, and then the kind of new wave of visual data discovery started with Click, Spotfire, Tableau, and Datawatch. We're all there, doing ANS-driven data discovery on traditional databases, warehouses, and then now we're starting to get into big data. So differentiators for Datawatch in this world are our ability to handle continuous query against streaming data, active MQ messages or streams from IBM Streams or Kinesis, what have you. But again, I don't know how relevant that capability is to this audience. I think in the future, we're all doing streaming data. But what is interesting is our ability to also handle hierarchy-driven, aggregated rule-driven modeled data, which TM1 is all about. I think we provide unique capability to leverage the power of TM1 above and beyond the competitors that we're also listing on the left. Next slide, please. Just a couple, we want to get to the demo, but screenshot examples of what I'm talking about. So, really because of my background, as well as a significant number of the kind of new employees at Datawatch coming from Applet and Cognos, we have a understanding of what TM1 is all about, and we're bringing that to bear on our integration with TM1. For instance, on this screen, you can see we're taking in the first red dotted box when you're setting up a connection between data and a TM1 instance, one of your TM1 instances, you kind of operating by default on a queue and subset basis. We're going to let you build on those application foundational blocks that you've already constructed in your TM model, rather than forcing you to necessarily write MDX queries, though you can absolutely do that. Into that, once you've connected to your cube views and your subsets, we, I think, continue to add value because we understand the nature of this OLAP model through easy suppression of null rows and giving you approaches for dealing with ranked hierarchies, which is a bit complex in the data discovery world. As the final checkbox on that screen says add extravagance column. That's a kind of a crazy label for use TM1's calculations, whether they're at the leaf level of the cube or a consolidated level. You always want to leverage the speed and calculation and aggregation abilities of TM1, and not redo that effort or worse, sort of do it again incorrectly. Again, there's just a picture of how we do understand the TM1 world we're focused on. Next slide, please. Some other ways we go kind of above and beyond visualization and reporting capabilities currently available for TM1. Just a couple of examples here. We're setting up your connection to TM1. We allow you to join your Cube Views with attribute values from your same TM1 model, which we can create visualizations and tables in Datawatch where you actually have attribute values on your rows and can do an aggregation based on those attribute values. This is something that's, I think, long missing from the TM1 reporting suite and can be quite powerful. Let you join TM1 data to external sources, relational databases, spreadsheets, files, even streaming data, all within our kind of in-memory on the glass. We're not a storage repository, so we're not going to store data, but as looking at it, we will combine it with other data sources as you set it up. And finally, just on this slide, we're talking about, you could also we have a very rich library of time series analysis, and by pointing at your time dimension or time dimensions in your cubes, you'll be able to very quickly, as a business analyst, put together an extensive array of line chart or scatter plot or combination time series visualizations on top of your existing cubes. Slide, please. And then the last one for me, but finally, just some points of integration. The visualizations that you build on top, build in Datawatch, certainly on TM1 or any other source, can be embedded in your own portal. It could be SharePoint, it could be Cognos portal, so they can be put as part of your existing applications or run as an independent application. Other points of integration, we do have an ability to call URL actions, which let kind of from a given visual in Datawatch, your users can right-click and launch a URL action, which could perform back action against TM1 or kind of launch them into a sheet at a position, taking text from your visual and setting the cube view to the right slice so you can do the planning or alterations to the budget or what have you, and then see those changes take effect immediately in the visualization in a side-by-side portal or two windows or however you like. And finally, from an issue perspective, if you choose to go to the kind of full stream, we a very strong SDK for embedding visual from Datawatch into your own, rich client applications or web applications with a high degree of interactivity and control. Next slide. All right, sorry. And one last slide here. It just showed it at the IBM Vision conference in Orlando. This is going to be available very shortly, and I think you'll be seeing a demo later. One of our connectors to TM1 is using the very latest API to TM1, which is a RESTful OData standard. It's a very exciting innovation in TM1. It kind of brings it from was into the world of cloud computing and performance in the wind. We realize the value of that. And just to give us a little kudos, I was part of making them before I left IBM and came to Datawatch. This was a really big thing for IBM and for the partners, like Tridant, to be able to better leverage or easily build extensible cloud-ready applications. We have a connector for Datawatch to TM1 using the OData interface to take advantage of all that capability that TM1 is coming up with. Next slide, please. Great.
Thank you, Tom. I think we're going to switch it over to James, who's going to give us a demo of what can be done with TM1 inside Datawatch. So are you ready?
Oh, yep, ready here.
Okay.
be able to see my screen now. I'm mainly working in Data Desktop today, so you can go about building this visual data discovery on top of your TM1 servers. I really wanted to concentrate on a couple of key areas that I believe are some key differentiators and how Datawatch can go about interacting with your TM1 servers. And to start with today, we're going to have a look at some visualizations below are some two TM1 cubes interacting with each other with a common filter across those two and having live interactive filtering happening on your TM1 cubes just off the one area. So you can see me here interacting with the filter on the right hand side. I'm going through and I'm now able to go and add in selective regions that I'm able to analyze here. And the key thing is the ease of which I'm able to build this information up and interact with it. So we're using two heat maps here. On the top, we've got a heat map around our labor force, our workforce. We've got a breakdown by region. So this is going to be our common TM1 dimension that we want to be able to do visualizations against. At the top heat map here, we're showing FTEs. So the size of the box here represents the number of FTEs within each region. That is representing the monthly salary of each of those FTEs. So if I now and select all and bring in all my regions, we can easily start to identify where we've got outliers and start to investigate those. So we can see that most of these are going up red. We do have some blues in here. These are our outliers. We can start to investigate why they have much higher monthly salaries compared to the FTEs that they have. At the bottom, I'm actually working on a GL cube. So the N has the region dimension coming in TM1. But in this particular heat map, what I'm showing is the box representing the sales and representing those cost of sales. Visually, I'm able to start identifying some outliers here and investigate why those particular ones are shown as different colors or maybe different sizes. How to go about building this visualization that you see here and enabling this dynamic filtering capability at the top of it. So let's move across into a blank one and build one live. We've got a blank screen here, but with Datawatch Desktop, it's a very easy setup. You've got your visualizations and got your data tables. If I go into an existing data that I built earlier on, and I'm going in and edit this one. I showed you in the slides earlier on, is a inbuilt connector through to TM1, and within the connector, you're identifying your admin host, the TM1 server that you want to connect to. Note that all the security authentications are supported. And here at the bottom, we're connecting to TM1 objects. So we have TM1 Cube Views, dimension subsets, even ability to go and interrogate control objects such as attribute cubes. So in this particular case, I'm connecting to my GL cube on a view that I've built, which is just called Z Datawatch here, and I'm going in and I'm using some of those cube view properties that I mentioned earlier on, and I'm suppressing empty rows coming through in here. Outputs, we're able to actually come in and rename any of these if we want to be able to just show names rather than potentially codes coming through, and do some transformations as well. So now I've got a data connection set up to my GL cube and my labor workforce cube. I can come in and start interacting with that data. Coming into my part area, I come down and select a visualization. So let me come down and select this tree map and then drag it onto my WIS here in Datawatch Desktop. I've got a visualization here. I want to be able to populate it with some data. So to my data tables that I've built, I can come in and select to begin with, let's say, my labor costs. My labor is dimension by region, so I'm going to bring that one into my breakdown. So all my different regions showing up. See now the size of those boxes represented by the number of FTEs in them. I drag and drop my size, my FTE onto the size shelf there, and now start seeing visually that Hong Kong and Singapore represent the largest number of FTEs. Now, that's great, that's one visual, but how about I want to be able to see the monthly salary that we're paying each of these regions and visually represent that as our color. Now I'm going to bring this area and drop that into our color area. Now I can start to identify where there are some potential outliers in here. And this is really the power of visualization rather than just looking at the numbers, is being able to identify those outliers or be able to spot something in your TM1 cubes that you just might know about using numbers normally. Now I wanted to be able to bring in and visualize my GL. So I go back and grab a visualization. Let's bring a tree map here. Come back to data tables, and this time choose my GL cube I want to be able to analyze some information from. Again, I'm going to bring out the region. This is common between the two of them. I want to see the breakdown across regions. In this particular case, let's have a look at sales on the size. The size of the box represents how big their sales numbers are. Now let's have a visualization of the color being on the cost of sales here. So if I drag onto the color shelf, now start to see the colors updating and the representation of that color being how high it is compared to the other values in this visualization. I come into my settings area here and just properties of this, and I also come into my colors and different color palette. If there's a different color palette that I think will represent this in a more meaningful way, and see a different color scheme representing that. The key was that even though I've got these two visualizations coming from different cubes, I want to be able to filter those. So I come into my vision parts, come down to my legends and filters area, and select my filter box, and drag that onto the dashboard where I want to appear. My data table, select the region dimension that we saw was the common breakdown between these two areas. Drag that onto my filters. Now it started by giving me a search box. That's because there's a lot of regions in here, so I might be wanting to search for ones rather than selecting them. I can just come easily into my settings, region filter, and now I can change this to multiple selection. And I have a reset button and still search if I want to as well. Close this down, size that. I can start interacting with this filter across those two cubes. So I'm going to unselect all of them, and I'm adding in the ones that I really want to analyze here. Going through and selecting, let's say, Hong Kong, Queensland, and dynamically as I'm interacting with this filter, the heap on the board is updating to show those values based upon that filter. And that's how easy it is to interact with those visualizations that we're editing and selecting all of them. Datawatch Desktop, which is where you go designing your visualizations, but then you have the ability to then publish to a server. My browser is the one I built early on, and you can see in in the web, I'm able to interact with that same set of visualizations dynamically on the web page as well, and be able to interact with it just as I did in the Datawatch client. An example of building some visualizations over TM1 and be able to easily filter across common dimensions there. One of the interesting aspects that Tom mentioned was being able to not only show some visualizations, but also interact with those visualizations with the right capability, obviously common to TM1, and being able to do scenario analysis. Particular example, we're connecting to an expenses cube here, where the user entering budgets and forecasts. The visualizations that I've built here allow for us to identify maybe some outliers in the data here. We're bringing through the previous year that the user have entered in their budgets, their current year, and a variance between those. The dashboard here is really about trying to identify the big outliers here between where they've still got some work to do on this year's budget, and so they've got a big variance from this budget to last year's budget. And our slot over here is easy to identify those ones that probably still do a bit more work on their budgets, or maybe there are valid reasons why they've got such variances to last year. Crosstab here is allowing us to see the different regions, breakdowns, being able to expand that out to the different accounts in those regions. I'm able to scroll through and identify the one I want to maybe do a little bit more work on. Australian Capital Territory here, we can see the breakdown of expenses, maintenance, meetings, occupancy, personnel, etc. I can see the previous year, this year's variance between them, so that's a pretty big variance I can see here, and that is identified out in the scatter plot here on the right-hand side as being something that's pretty away from the norm there. To go and check what that person has been doing in their budgets, if I right-click, there is the URL action that's mentioned in this slide. I'm able to come in and select the URL action, and it's going to pass through context. I'm providing authentication here. A single sign-on will pass me straight through. Actually coming into just normal TM1 web here, and it's passing through the context of the region that I've selected there. So you can see it's updated the Australian Capital Territory, which I was doing my right-click pass through there. So now I'm able to go into my budget template, scroll down, and here there is an account line rent where someone has entered 20 minutes in for the full year and spread that across each month. So it looks like someone's probably done a bit of a few too many zeros in their rent line, and we can easily come in and we can change values. Normal TM1 right through TM1 web. So we change values, send it back into TM1, read write the head, come into our Dutch visualization dashboard here. The total expenses line on our visualization will be able to refresh and pull through that new value going into TM1 and be able to update the information flowing through which we refreshed as we needed. So now we see not only our values being refreshed in our crosstab here, you'll notice on our right-hand side scatter plot here, we know we have that outlier be presented on our visualization as well. We've got the interactivity here between not only the Datawatch desktop, but also the wherever as well, passing through context into TM1, allowing that right back and update to our visualization dashboards. moving to our next tab here, we have a visualization that I've built here purely around an Excel file. And this visualization is giving us a bit of a breakdown around some of our hotel information and some of the stats around these hotels. I'm able to analyze these both by a numeric format, visualization by this map here, allowing me to break down by state into the large areas of deluxe rooms and the color showing us the capacity in there. I have geographical representation of this information, as showing different states and representations on there. I've got a bar chart here as well, where the height is represented by the number of standard rooms, as the color is representing their deluxe rooms. Now, the statistical information that I'm able to analyze here through Excel, but typically a lot of the financial information is going to be held and modeled within TM1 and budgeted and forecasted in there as well. So we've got this interactive dashboard based on some operational data that we can analyze. Great to start analyzing this information also with our financial information and be able to interact with it in the rich way that we're interacting with the operational by the filters and visualizations. Moving across into my bank, I'm now going to build that up and combine a cube of that information with that external source Excel file to put that data together and provide some rich interactive analysis over the top. So here in my data tables, you can see my hotels, and this is the data source that I've built to come that TM1 Cube together the external data source. So I'm in and edit this data table. We have our cube view coming through from TM1. The settings, you can see the cube I'm this cube view from. Brought in an Excel file, connecting to an Excel file here as well. And here in the middle, you can see the join between those two data sources that I've joined the hotel region, which is a dimension from my TM1 Cube, and my hotel Excel column coming through here from the Excel file. That allows me to create a data set, which is not only my TM1 data here, but across to the right has enabled me to bring in the operational data here as well. So I'm bringing in longitude and latitude, which is going to be able to represent that in a geographical format for me as well. So that data source means that I can start visualizing it. So my visualizations here with a table just to start bringing information in. So drag and drop a table. Come in data. I can start bringing in my hotels on my down. Maybe see the total revenue on my members here. So like that. Now from my TM1 Cube, and I can maybe bring in room revenue, the amount of money we're making from food and beverage, from the internet. We can also start combining that with information I've blended here from the external Excel file. So let's also add in the number of deluxe rooms, number of rooms, and the capacity. So a table representing that number there. But if we see this in a hierarchical breakdown, maybe based upon state, so I could bring the state and include my my breakdown as well, and the manager associated with this hotel as well. So as I bring these into the breakdowns, I'm actually able to visualize that information by drag up with the state, move my hotel location, and to the individual managers there. Or I can turn and maybe say, starting off with the state, different managers that are in those states and different hotel locations. And then my analysis is based upon the information that I'm finding. So that's a table that we're bringing in there. And I can raise that one. Let's bring in a visualization. Let's bring in let's tree map. Go into my data table. Let's take the hotel location. See the hotels rented in here. I want to look at that, maybe the cities by revenue. Drag that into my size shelf. I can size the box, representing the size of the total revenue. I can pull and Aspley here being the biggest. Now, maybe combine that with, well, is a relationship with the number of deluxe rooms. So drag and drop that onto our color. And now start to see a visual based upon whether there is a correlation between total revenue the hotel is making and the number of deluxe rooms that are available within that hotel. Let's reset that one to make a bit more space. The geographical capability as well mean that I can bring in this map plot visualization, drop that onto our dashboard. Let's look at the breakdown of this, let's say, by our hotels. And we'll bring in those hotels based upon their latitude and longitude, and then represent maybe the size by color total revenue and the number of rooms and their size. Obviously see the concentration here in Australia. So let's in that area. And we're seeing the visualization at the level of zoom that we want to go into. Let's add a filter to be able to interact with this data. Bring in a filter box. We'll analyze that by the rest of the information we have in here. So maybe bring state in. Now into that filter, we can start just concentrate on what's happening in ACT, New South Wales, Queensland, or say WA. And we can having those visualizations interacting based upon the filters that we're adding in. So we blended TM1 Cube with an external file. We'll start to visualize this not only in a geographical format, but a numeric format and tree map styles as well. An interesting example and how you might want to interact with your TM data is also bring in unstructured data that you can bring via the Datawatch capability. In this example here, we're going through and we're analyzing data coming out of the TM1 server log and actually the load time in seconds. The server log is a very unstructured data file. The lines that are in there are varying information. the limiter that we're able to easily pick up that button. So there's the capability to bring that unstructured data in and make a data table out of it. A very powerful thing. I go into my data table here, I can bring up my TM1 logs, and you can see here I'm bringing in the ID and the load seconds here. So I've created a visualization based upon that data coming in from the log and represented this in a time series format. Datawatch is extremely strong about analyzing information based upon time series and being able to represent that, be able to filter that, and be able to play back that information over a time period. This visual of my server load times, see the different days that are really coming in roughly about between 10 and 8 seconds that my server is restarting. But right here at the start, we can see this big peak here. For whatever reason, it took 250 seconds. I'm able to easily identify that based upon the visualization rather than scrolling through millions of lines in a log file and trying to pick out what's been happening over a course of time. I'm also able to interact with this data by changing my filters and programming into specific range of days or time period to be able to get a further level of analysis in there. And on my data set, I might want to run a play around how that has been operating over time and return the information based upon that. An example of being able to combine different data sets together that you might not just have available within your TM1 cubes. The example I want to talk through is, as Tom mentioned, there is the new data connection available within TM1. We go in and create a new data table. You can see the list of data sources that Datawatch is able to bring in and blend together and incorporate your visualizations, not only streaming there, but any file information and different databases that you're able to connect to as well. And specifically here, we've got the TM1 OData connection. Going through and selecting the TM1 server, connecting to my TM1 server that's got data set up, log my server, and to see the cube views. And in here, so going through and selecting my cube, and selecting a list of data I want to be able to connect to, and enrich this with different properties we want to apply to it, and we've also got capabilities to maybe parameterize this, be able to easily parameterize it to return different years or months based upon how we want to interact with that data on our dashboard. Okay, and direct accessing this source, we'll also then bring in that data via OData, and the speed is very useful when connecting to a TM1 server via the data connectivity. So we can save that into our TM1 workbook and bring our GL information from TM1 in the OData connection, and then I'll start interacting that data based upon visualizations that are available. Let's in regions, have a look at size, tiles in my color, and interacting with the TM1 Cube View as a data source via the OData connection. Speed is, as you see it here, extremely fast. So there are a couple of keys why you want to consider Datawatch for interacting and visualizing with your TM1 data. But a couple of other examples that are using data sources other than TM1 that we probably relevant for here today as well. So start with this data here that we've created in Datawatch. Doing here is we're combining, if I go into presenting this information here, we're hooking to ActiveMQ here. ActiveMQ is a messaging service, and the messaging service is real-time, and the Datawatch dashboard is representing data as it moves around in real time, and we're combining that with information as well to enrich analysis across the two sets of data. So geographical point of view, tree point of view, and try bar chart here with information in real time. The area that Datawatch able to represent information in is time series analysis. Within our time series here, we've got a set of information around our trucks. The trucks were giving information in via different time periods. That is, how long the average seatbelt status was, average braking for each truck that is out there, speed that is coming through. We're able to present information here and hone into specific time periods that we will analyze anything within that time period. So that even down to the individual minutes or seconds that we want to analyze that by. And one of the other key things that you're able to do is perform a playback of that information, that being represented either in a geographical format. As the trucks are moving around the country, we're able to pick up their latitude longitude coordinates, represent that on a geographical map here, and the color representing maybe the speed or the braking that is happening at that particular time, so people are able to visually see that information as the trucks are going around, and no matter when you come into that visual, you're able to hone it down into an individual time period, or you can put that facility it over that period of time to see as the information load in during that specific time period. Just a couple of other key parts in the Datawatch suite and what it is to not only just visualize in TM1, but the data sources that you might have available within your organization as well. There might be some questions out there, so I think I'll go back to Scott and Tom at this point for Q&A.
Okay, great. Thanks, James. Thank you very much. That was great. Again, as James just indicated, we have a suggestion box. If you have any questions, you can type it into the screen down below. We've read a few questions already. Have one, please type it in at the bottom screen. There's a chat box that you can type in. See my screen at this moment? Hello?
I can't, Scott.
Okay, great. So we have a few questions that's come in. One is what versions will TM1 will work with Datawatch? What versions of TM1 will work with Datawatch, and what can we connect to, basically? Tom, you want to step in on this?
Yeah, at this stage, it's version 10.1 or higher with the .NET connector from Datawatch Difference. And then the OData connector for TM1 is only available with the release of TM1, which is TM1 10.2.2.
Did you want to repeat that one more time? I think there was an echo there.
I'll try it again. So, our .NET connector to TM1.1 or 10.2 or higher, and the new data connector to TM1 will only work with TM1 10.2, the latest release, but it will work with release going forward. At least certainly that's the IBM claim.
Great. One question. RAM or CPU will Datawatch require if you have a big TM1 instance?
I'll take that as well if you like, Scott.
Sure.
My classic TM1 answer I can apply here, which is it depends. A key principle here is that we don't want to pull all of the TM1 data into memory in Datawatch. The features in is called query on demand. We didn't get into that in demo here, but essentially you can instruct Datawatch to only pull over the information that's used on the screen by the active visuals. So you might have a 40 gigabyte or 100 gigabyte cube. You have a cube view that was tens of thousands of rows and 50 columns or whatever. Mode, we're going to load in at any given time the of cells and rows from that cube view you actually are incorporating into your visual. And since we don't want to be re-aggregating, we'll just look at aggregate rows directly in TM1. It's not as though we have to load in all of leaf level values from your TM1 cube, re-add them up. We don't want to do that. We're just going to look at the pre-aggregated results from TM1. So you could create a tool that had lots of data in the visual that will take them out of memory, but for them in the it's not in any correlate to having a giant TM1 cube does not mean you have a giant memorization in your Datawatch server.
Okay, great. If there's any other questions, feel free to type it into the chat box. If not, we can easily answer questions that you might have. Just.
I have a question.
Sorry, go ahead.
10.1 supported. Answer.
Olivia, please.
Cognos Express 10.1 will it be supported?
So I believe the question was, will Cognos Express 10.1 be supported? I believe so. We haven't tested it yet, but I believe that is TM1 10.1, right, under the covers. The .NET connector should work against that TM1.
Another question. Will TM1 be able to interface with structured data other than Excel, e.g. Oracle and SQL?
So, correctly, can data interface with other structured data beyond TM, Excel, and so what can we connect to? I think. So we have connectors to a number of big data sources like MongoDB, or Clara services. You know, if you could point at a URL and read JSON or XML directly from the web, we have connectors for that OData and general OData as well as TM1's OData. We connect that obviously to our own modeler product and then various others. But it really, one of the goals in joining Datawatch was to build a really broad array of connectivity. So if part of our SDK allows us to quickly build additional connectors, if there's a data source that has and they don't see it supported on our list of available connectors, I implore you, please reach out to us and let's talk. Because if you don't have a connector already, we would very much like to talk to you about building one to your data source.
Okay. Are there any other questions that you see?
No any more questions from my side.
Okay. Again, just to emphasize, if you have any other questions, please feel free to contact us. I hope everyone can see my screen. You please feel free to contact us at either in Singapore or in Australia. We have the email addresses and phone numbers displayed on the screen. I'd be happy to answer any of your questions. Also, feel free to download our 14-day trial software and try to experience our products on your own free time.
One more question.
Yes,
question came in. Is one security overlaid to Datawatch?
Right. I think the question was, is TM1 security overlaid, or how does it integrate with Datawatch?
Yes.
So, okay, great. When you set up your connector to TM1, you specify the TM1 security you want to use. Is it mode, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? And then at that point, that you're using or your end user's credentials, if it's a single environment, will be what's passed through. So you have a number of choices to make there, and it depends on how your deployment is structured.
Okay. No more questions? Okay. If you do you have any other questions, please, again, contact us on our website or our email addresses, or us at either one of our offices in Singapore or Australia. We'll be answer any of your questions. Thank you again for Trident for putting on a great demo, and Tom, thank you very much for all your assistance and answering the questions.
Thank you all, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you.